This is it, is that I want you guys to always feel that with collecting my work is that you're ahead of the curve. I want to show the world that actually what we're doing is something that's going to fundamentally change the way we interact with things.
D.
What's up?
Good morning. How are you, man?
Good morning. Good day. Yeah. Rolling on along. How about yourself?
I'm good. Another hot day here in Australia. I hear you guys are having a bit of a heat wave as well.
Yeah. Cooking up the side. But yeah, summer's always good in Cape Town. What's not to love, hey? Surf, mountains, got it all.
Yeah, God's country. Same here, man. So look, we've got another interesting episode. We got another artist on the show today, an artist based out of Dubai, and you'll give her a quick intro. Let's just let all the people know, though, at the start here that none of this is financial advice. We got to say that, don't we? All the kids are saying it on their podcasts.
We got it.
Okay. Do your own research, people. Just do it.
Do it. Just do it.
And click the like button and subscribe. You don't have to smash the like button. People, you just have to click it, right? Everybody says smash. Just a click is enough. Yeah.
Just a gentle click, just a gentle touch. And don't forget to comment as well. Don't forget to comment.
Yes. Tell us what you think. All right, Dee, do you want to set us up and tell us all about our guest today?
So, yeah, we're going to be speaking to a very special lady today by the name of Amrita, and she is from the UAE and the first NFT artist from the UAE. And funnily enough, an award-winning UAE Golden Visa holder. I wonder what that is about. That's going to be interesting to maybe have a quick chat about that. But she's an amazing artist in her own right, and also comes from a banking background, I believe. So, yeah, we're super excited to go over what she's doing in the art space in Dubai and across the world. And but yeah, she's also recently been a part of an event from FT NFT. Their international awards for 2024 happened recently, yesterday, and she's also partnered with the Byte Academy, so that's part of her own education venture that she's running, and also part of the FT NFT community, as I just mentioned. So there's quite a lot to unpack here, and yeah, really look forward to having a chat with her, Dave.
Awesome. Well, I've got her in the wings right now, so I will let her in right now.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Well, it's actually, it's just good afternoon in Dubai.
Good morning.
Good morning for D. I don't think you've met D before, Amrita. You may have seen him on the podcast.
Yeah,
D's in Cape Town.
Oh, nice. We can meet. Actually, I'm flying down to Cape Town on the 11th of March.
Oh, good. You should go by. We've got a center there. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got the Cardano Center here locally. That's also helping to empower artists in the Web3 space. So we'd love to show you around. Definitely. That would be awesome.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Amrita, tell us about traffic in Dubai.
So embarrassing. It was so, like I was supposed to be, to be fair, I didn't know I was winning an award, right? So I kind of went to another gallery, and I ended up just like messing around there. And is this being recorded?
It is being recorded.
Okay, so it's fine. I'll tell you the whole story later. And then, but then I got so stuck in traffic, and then everyone was calling me saying like, Chris Fade,
you've got to be here
in Dubai.
You've won.
Pretty Malik. They're Dubai bling people. They're like, where is Amrita? And so it was just really embarrassing.
So tell us about the event. What was the event, and what was the award for?
This is, the FT NFT store. It's the first, they say they're the first, kind of physical NFT shop in the world, right? And so they opened up first in Mall of the Emirates and Dubai Mall. So the two biggest, and Dubai Mall is obviously the largest mall, I think, it's humongous. So I was the first opening artist that opened their store, first in Dubai, in Mall of the Emirates. And it was a very good story. Like, first NFT artist of Dubai opens, the first, NFT shop in Dubai.
Yeah.
And then that's when I had my soundbite collection with the augmented reality. And then they closed down the Mall of the Emirates and they open in Dubai Mall. And so they're there, like they're a digital shop, right? So they have the physical and the digital. And I have my T-shirts and my hoodies as well as my art. And I got the award for the highest amount of, sales, basically. My collection sold the highest amount since launching across all the artists. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, very good. So that NFT or FT, right, is the space.
Yes.
I don't think we were there. Now I met you in August. I don't think they were there at that time, were they?
They were there. I think the thing is with these guys is these guys are a very big tech company from Armenia. The owner is one of the nicest. I mean, the head guy is one of the nicest guys. This guy called Vigen, and and they own. It's under really their company, I think, called Fastex, but they have multiple. I mean, I think they're one of the biggest tech companies in Armenia, right? And I think that, they have a Fastex exchange, you can buy their token. And I think this is more a front kind of, like a shop front for them. But I don't think it's their main business. But they do everything. They've got massive tech behind them. They've got Metaverse, that is their own platform. They do mainly, custodial. But yeah, so I think, maybe I didn't tell you about that. They would have make their own screens and stuff like that. They do everything. They're just
right big. On. Oh, cool. Wow. It's good to learn about them. Yeah. So
and then they would have spent a bomb last night, because it was
it looked like quite a show there. It was a bit of a gala. Was that Armani, right? Armani Hotel?
Yeah, Armani Hotel. And, it's Chris Fade. I don't know. He's on Dubai Bling. It was his birthday. So I can imagine how much they had to pay him just to turn up.
Right. Cool. Well, listen, tell us about the scene in Dubai now. I want to get into your background and sort of where you've sort of come from. Obviously, you come from a financial industry background and you saw the light and moved towards art. And that's an interesting journey. But it seems like the scene in Dubai for digital art and Web3 in general, we know that there's been money going into the space. But on the cultural side, that seems to be pretty dynamic as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dubai is just rocking it. That's exactly it. I mean, to the point where, you were the victim of our own success, right? That's what they say. So, Dubai traffic is now gone insane. So hence why, we literally I'm on the Palm, for example, Palm Jumeirah, which is a big island with the, the shape of a palm tree. And then you have downtown. And for me, normally with no traffic, it takes me 20 minutes. But at the moment, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's kind of why, people are missing events because it takes you so long to get downtown. And what I do say about Dubai at the moment is it's no longer the American dream. It's the Dubai dream.
Right.
Cool. I've been in Dubai for the last 15 years. I came just when Dubai was booming, just before the 2008 crash. But it was so hot, and now Dubai again is just it's crazy. But you have people who have come and stayed, and it's almost like people don't. Before, when I came, you would come to Dubai for 2-3 years and then you would leave. But most of the people I know are still here 15 years later, and in 1 week alone, I will meet now at least 10 to 15, 20 people in 1 week who've just moving here. Yeah. And that's from everywhere, from the crypto scene, to the Web2 scene. And also what I would say is, we call them Dubai seasons. So this is season 1, 2024. Then everyone goes away for the summer, and then they come away for season 2, 2024. So it's almost like Dubai season 1, Dubai season 2. And so there's a lot of now community or crypto nomads, but not just, even community people, content creators who come for season 1 and 2. So it's not just catering for the nomads of the crypto world, but it's also the content creator nomads as well.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Now, is what brought you there the financial industry? Is that sort of how you landed in Dubai?
Yeah.
And then tell us about that. How did that?
Yeah, so
sort of
that
evolve?
was very funny. That was back in the day. This was really back in the day. It was in 2007, right? And so, 2007. So I was I was born in Kenya. Well, I am born in Kenya. I was born in Kenya and lived there all my life.
Oh, wow.
And then I went to university in the UK. And I went straight from I studied economics at university. And then I did a master's in development economics because, I grew up in Africa and my father worked for the UN. He was an architect with the UN. And hence where I kind of get my very artistic skills from, I would say. And I always wanted to be an architect, actually, when I was younger. And then I found out I was really good at economics and I loved economics. And then that kind of totally took me to studying economics. And so I did a master's in development economics, thinking I was going to go back to Africa and empower the poor. And then it couldn't have been the opposite. So I get to university, I leave university and I start working in the UK just by accident in Barclays, in private wealth, empowering the rich, helping the rich get richer. So how did that happen? And then I was, at the time, I got offered a job to move. I was working with HSBC, and they said, you have the option to move to South Africa, where I think you're in Cape Town at the moment. Singapore or Hong Kong or Dubai. And remember, this was the time, there was a bit of internet, but you would still buy a bit of a book to kind of find out about the country, right? And
you get a Lonely Planet or something.
You would still do that. I know it's making me sound super old, but that's the kind of stuff that you would do. And so I was just, and people and I just went with what people were saying. They were like, don't go to Hong Kong in Asia, because at the time I was single. So they're like, and then don't go to South Africa because you already know the Africa vibe. Try something different. And Dubai was booming in 2007. And so I literally, without knowing anything, just landed in Dubai. And that's kind of how that all happened. Yeah.
Right. And what brought you, so you were in the financial industry up until how long ago? When did you sort of make the full-time shift to your own entrepreneurial creative pursuits?
So I would say I was, I then kind of, from there, I kind of worked within the private wealth sector in Dubai. I moved to Switzerland for a brief period, moved back to Dubai. And then I started working in insurance because I found insurance exciting. And believe it or not, I did. And so I moved into Zurich. I was working with a company called Zurich in Dubai. And then I wanted to actually move, and that was about 6 years ago. So I actually just wanted to stay in finance, but I wanted to get out of the corporate world. And I really had a strong entrepreneurial calling. I just wanted to do something that I was in charge of my own time. And I really genuinely believed I could give advice, better being independent. So I just took that time off, right? And in that time off, we all are guilty of it, especially when you're in the corporate world. You are literally in that rat race. And so it was the first time where I just had time to just sit quietly, go within myself. And then I think that's kind of, I hadn't picked up art for a while. I was like, I can't be bothered to get the pen and paper out. So I just started drawing on my iPad, because why not try some new tech? And then and then that's kind of how I got started.
Right. Cool. And then you started that when you were sort of on a sabbatical or just taking a bit of a break. And then just like many entrepreneurs do, you've started doing so many different things now, right? Like you've got quite a few collections, you've got quite a few initiatives, you've got Byte Academy, so maybe just give us a bit of an overview of all the stuff in your ecosystem. And then I'd love to drill down into some of your art and the actual collections and your approach to
Perfect.
To those.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I kind of let my curiosity drive my creativity. And then from there, I just believed in being in flow, right? And so I had other aspects of my life that just were not flowing. And all of a sudden, this art thing just kept on flowing. And I kind of just went organically. So when opportunities came up, I was like, actually, let me just try it. It pushed me out of my comfort zone, which then, 4 years later, as you said, David, I've kind of created this ecosystem, but it wasn't like by some beautiful design. It wasn't like I was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to create that. And so what has happened is that I've kind of created a bit of this, this kind of Amrita verse, right? So I'm an artist first and foremost, and I work with multiple mediums, obviously physical art, NFTs, murals, sculptures. I've got my fashion as well. And then I'm now a thought leader, a speaker, as someone would say, an influencer in this space. And I also attend lots of conferences around the world and in Dubai, talking about not just obviously art, but Web3, NFTs and the new technologies. I then as you know, with artists and brands come knocking. And so I created my kind of studio where I help Web2 brands, understand the new world from Web2 to Web3, both artistically. So I create, either commission pieces for them, or I also advise a little bit on certain, not everybody, but like certain kind of bigger companies I will actually give advice to and consultancy in terms of just having an artistic lens, but with the view of knowing what I do know, being I wouldn't say expert in this field, but, like being somebody who's a leader in this field. And then, and then I'm also created an academy, right? Because I got a lot of pressure by a lot of people to say, can you teach us this and do this? And, and so I kind of created a course and that's really the start of it. And then there was a little bit of a segment of that where I've been asked to help kids. And obviously for me, I'm actually building for the next generation, right? Like the only people who actually understand what I'm talking about is a 6 to 16-year-old. And so I have this kind of Bite Kids, youth advisory council where I get advice from them. And then I've been very, very lucky enough to then create my own community of collectors, of fans, followers, just supporters, and so that's, I call it my Bite Club, that's my little my universe.
That's BYTE, by the way, people. BYTE.
Like a sound bite, make it like and then Bite Club. So exactly. But to be fair, like everybody wants me to create like event, because obviously there's an influx of people coming into Dubai, and there's like lots of single. Crypto people, crypto males. And then I know a lot of single Web2 females. And they're like, can you create like a networking event, which you call Bite Me events? But,
dating in the era of
Web3. Nice.
I know, I'm still not get around to that. Like, that could just, and this is how things happen, right? Like then somebody says it and I'm just like, why not? And then next thing you know, I've got a Bite Me event, networking kind of, Tinder-like, awesome. Situation going on.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's interesting. I had a couple of thoughts while you were saying one of the things that you said is about, I'm not an expert in this space, but in truth, there are almost no experts in this space because everything is moving so quickly. And sure, you have folks that are sort of at the pinnacle of the technical elements of some of the underlying, tech stacks or blockchains. You've got some folks who are at the quote unquote pinnacle of what's happening culturally, but like it's moving so quickly that anybody that's spent a little bit of time really thinking about it, really deep diving into it, really meditating on it is as much of an expert as we have, right? And that's part of what we're really interested in, Dee and I, is chatting with people like you and other people who've just, we're looking at this whole new substrate for creativity, for society, for economics. And I'd be interested in your view of sort of token economics and maybe how that plays into some of your thinking here. But that's the exciting part,
I mean,
right?
exactly. I mean, when you say that, like, I mean, I think everybody has their story and their journey, right? Into how, I mean, obviously, eventually when you start, a lot of people getting in, okay, you don't need to hear everybody's story, but, at the beginning, you have some, and so like my story was, being the first NFT artist here, like it was a really lonely place, and especially like I'm not in the tech world. I didn't come from the tech world. I didn't even come from the art world. So I'm doing these things, and everybody around me in my world thought I had lost the plot. Like not only had I moved from finance, I was now going into art. They were like, she keeps talking about like sound.
What's up with Amrita?
And then she's like talking about this blockchain, NFTs. And everyone was like, Amrita, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden, after COVID happened, we started getting, these crypto nomads coming. And I remember the first time I met a few of them, we were in like some really random cafe. I was like, finally, somebody who understands what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then what I started to do was, because they had all come from overseas, right? So they also crypto nomads. So I started hosting this kind of, bringing back the concept of the art salon, but I was now calling it the art and tech salon. And so I would it would be on a Monday night. I would call it the Meta Maison, and people would come to my home. I would host like 14 people, 10 to 12 people like that around that amount. We would come, we'd do a fireside chat. And this was about as big as the ecosystem was now. It was then. Yeah. And I would host like a dinner for everybody, because also everyone hadn't had a home cooked meal in a long time. Yeah. and now you look at all the events that are happening, thousands of, tens of thousands of people, and just remembering those and I remember my husband who's in the who's a banker from the CeFi space. He would just be like watching this and obviously very confused, but he would be like, it felt so fringe. He said, this is probably what it felt like before rock and roll became famous, before Apple, they were doing stuff in their garage, and it was really like that. And I love that kind of vibe to thinking about that and where we are today.
Yeah, that's interesting. Before we get into your art, which I really do want to talk more about your process, your inspiration, and sort of what brought you to some of these ideas. As an entrepreneur, as a serial entrepreneur, as a parallel entrepreneur, meaning we've got multiple projects going at any one time, right? Part of the art of that is really triaging, right? Where do you focus? Because we want to do it all, right? It's all interesting. Yeah. You said you're led by your curiosity, and there's so much to be curious about and interested in. And so what are you doing? And you and I have talked a little bit about this when I came to see you in Dubai. Like, what are you doing to look across that ecosystem and these different, initiatives that you've started? And how are you allocating time and resources, right? Is it organic and sort of just flowing, or are you trying to add structure? Is it something that sort of ebbs and flows in terms of how much structure there is, or what's that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. I think I've been in artistic flow long enough, and that's going to keep flowing. But I've realized that I need to switch on a bit my I would say like my other side of my brain, get back to my kind of bank and put some more structure and prioritize, and also learn about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand that I'm a professional artist. Like, I get very flyaway comments with just create art. That's all you need to do. And then give it to a gallery. And I'm like, but doesn't kind of work like that. And so I've actually joined, Entrepreneurs Organization. I'm actually learning what it means to structure myself as an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of artists struggle with this.
100%.
It's kind of still kept behind closed doors. It's almost like they're not allowed to talk about it, but actually it's a really big part of it. And it's something that I think a lot of artists struggle with, and they need the tools, right? So absolutely. I'm kind of just focusing on, I would say, to answer your question, to get a bit more structure and actually know what I'm doing from and leverage on these new entrepreneurial tools that I'm teaching myself and I'm getting help from.
Yeah.
But also to really go back to my core, which is really, my art. And so I really want to focus on creating what I want. And I've always done that, to be fair. So all my creations. So I want to create what I want to create, but have some sort of structure around how you release that, the narrative around that, but actually still create. And then I know that the other things will always fall in place after that. But my priority is really understanding what art I want to create and really understand what is the legacy, what is my message, what am I trying to inspire in others, and what, as you said, they say that artists are the storytellers of their time. What is the story that I'm trying to tell, and what is the legacy I'm trying to leave?
Yeah, artists often are what separates an incredible artist from an incredible artist who's successful, right? And it's that successful bit where marketing and business development and planning and execution on a commercial side of it are often, they're not totally opposite to the creative process, but there's a really different operating system that you have to sort of, put in place mentally to pursue those different types of activities, right? They're very, very different.
And I get it. Yeah, 100%.
Please.
Does that form part of your Bit Academy? All of that sort of stuff, like helping artists to think like entrepreneurs and helping them to manage more of that process. Is that something that you're doing in the Bit Academy as well, or considering creating content around as you go through this journey?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's almost like, when you start to deep dive into each one of those verticals, they are entire business models in themselves. And so that's why I think I was getting overwhelmed. But now I'm just kind of addressing each one in itself and actually trying to say, okay, from that, what do I want to pick the most of? And how is that all kind of leading into, as I said, my ultimate goal to understand what it is. But I definitely think that that is definitely something that I think, and if I can try help artists eventually, I think for me, I kind of just want to get to a point where I can step up and then just take a breath. I put an oxygen mask on myself, and then once I've definitely done that, be able to pass that oxygen mask out like nobody's business. But just kind of getting to a point where I've got a good vantage point is where I'm at the moment.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's kind of like you're scratching that itch that you had to be spending your time giving back through the development support, right? Like that you sort of originally thought you might want to go down, but now you've got this whole new world and universe that there is a gap. There really is a gap of education and knowledge in terms of how to commercialize yourself as an artist, right? And get access to global markets and to manage that you can give back through education. So
I would add one more layer to the whole concept before, is that also it's just, when you say, okay, well, also what are you going to concentrate, or even D, to your question, like how are you going to help artists, do all of these things? There's a very big layer that actually I'm tackling as well. Like it's, which layer am I going to? Am I going to a Web3 art world, or am I going to the Web2 art world? And how am I, like who is my, where is my playing field, right? Where is my landscape? Because if you're going to go for pure Web 2, then you have to operate in a completely different manner. Then Web 3, you have to operate in a completely different manner. And for me, what I would say is I believe the epitome of what it means to be a Web 2.5 artist, right? I'm very much in the physical world. I also come from a Web 2 background, but I very much understand the Web 3 background. But I'm not a pure degen, like really pure degen. I'm not like between certain age of male and, like that's, as I really love, the degen and the degen mentality, but I have to also take full ownership that that's not also who I am. And so, for me, just creating this new space, and what does that mean? So not only, I don't even have I would say a blueprint. If it was easy for me, I would just go into the blueprint of a Web 2 artist or a blueprint of a Web 3 artist now, because there is a bit of a blueprint coming through on the Web3 artist now. But what does this really mean to be that Web 2.5 artist? And that's kind of what I feel like I'm trying to, push boundaries in that space, right?
Yeah, and you're doing that in a couple of ways, and that's a good segue into let's talk about your collections and your art and your approach and the different types of collections that you've been developing. But we see that, with the work we've been doing with artists in Europe, with the galleries, how do these artists that aren't just pure degen artists, that are really actually trying to create fine art, essentially fine digital art, but then also to sort of promote and sell that to these investors who will pay enough money to give them a living rather than just flipping some low cost degen sort of PFPs. So how I think that space is still being navigated. You've got a few big names that have obviously been successful, but there isn't a playbook, right? There really isn't those established pathways to that. So that's sort of all evolving. So tell us about your collections, past, present, and possibly future. What's now you've got one behind you, isn't it? That's one of your.
So actually, this is the one that says. So for those people who don't know, my original concept of art is based on sound. And so very quickly, I say a word and I capture the shape and structure of a sound wave. And then each of the lines of the sound wave I draw to match the meaning of the word. And, it's all based on, instead of a picture's worth 1,000 words, it's all based on a word is worth 1,000 pictures. And I came up with that in 2018. I copyrighted it, not because I wanted to hoard like my IP and my knowledge. I just actually genuinely wanted to see, did I really create something that literally nobody had created, right? Because obviously I was not in that world and I didn't have time to go and research and look at tons of artists, but I was like, actually, no, I'm the first kind of one. And if you think about it, it's a kind of an amazing precursor to AI. Without knowing that, right? Remember in 2018, I would have not known any about this. Maybe it was there, but I had no idea. And so, because what is AI today? It's a word. You type in a word, a prompt, and it brings out thousands of images. And so the premise of which I created it was actually how AI also is coming out today. And if you look at, but there's a deeper philosophy to it, right? Because at the time, so like, the words that you put, that you say to yourself, that you say to other people, those all create images in people's heads, right? And what is those images that come out, so the output that comes out depends on the AI machine and the machine learning. So if we now are talking just normal Web 2 world, we are AI machines. Like Dee's an AI machine, you're an AI machine, I'm an AI machine. And our inputs, our machine learning has just been not just the sum of all of our thoughts, words, actions, experiences in our own lifetime, but also those of our ancestors and our ancestors above us. And in fact, if you look at it, the entire neural network of the world, because we're influenced by film, by movie, by books. So we are all working around AI machines. And so when you say a word is worth 1,000 pictures, literally a word in every one of these human AI OG machines that comes up with lots of images. So I was just creating a way where people could see sound, but also at a separate layer, to extend to that was also to show people that the power of images and the power of your mind to create new images, to create new characters, to create new narratives, so that you can actually recreate your own reality, right? Because a lot of the time, we get stuck in a certain narrative about ourselves, right? I'm this, or you don't even realize what you're saying. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm so silly, or I'm this, or you see the world and those images. But my point is that you can take a canvas, you can say some new words, even take your name, Amrita or David or Dee, and you are in charge of the new images that come up in people's minds. You are in charge of that. You can change. You are the author and the writer and the painter of your life. And so using that is one level. But then the second thing is as an artist, I can use it to tell a story, to create new characters and new narratives. And so what I did here, for example, with this artwork, this says, "What the NFT?" And it's funny, you don't need to be an expert in reading sound waves to kind of get the vibe of it, right? And obviously, if you said what the NFT, to me, it would be a slightly different, but you can kind of get what the NFT in that, right? And I use this as a way to not only it was obviously to express my art concept, right? Obviously, but this was me telling the story, because so many people were like, "What the hell?" Remember what the NFT? We were like, "What the F is an NFT?" Right? Like, this is just ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, and so I kind of use this as a storyboard, a visual storyboard, as basic as it might seem. And obviously, again, the Web2, kind of high society art, people might say, "Oh, well, it's very clip art," but actually it's also very telling of the Web3 art, where it is a bit clip arty and it is very literal and it is a bit cartoon-like, because this is also telling the story of the type of Web3 art, right? Yeah. So you have the blockchain, you've got Beeple, 69 million, you have the Nyan cat there, you've got Sophiaverse, you've got, Metacoven, who bought the artwork, you have CryptoPunks, but I made it in my way, you had CryptoKitties, Pepe, Rare Pepes. So it almost serves as what I call education. So I call it art edutainment, right? So I'm entertaining you in an artistic way, but using it in a way that educates you on the next.
Cool. Technology. It's like a really dense comic telling the snapshot of the history of NFTs at that moment, right? So you can sort of go through the journey visually and say, "Oh, look, that's a Beeple," or "This is that." Which is cool. Yeah. When you were talking about the idea of, essentially, I think we are the writers of our own novel, right? Like, we are the heroes of our own narrative, and it's your job as a human being to really discover who are you as a hero and to write that narrative, right? I thought about there's all of this discussion around, are we in base reality? Are we a simulation? You've got Elon Musk, estimates it's a 1 in a billion chance that we are base reality. And I think Neil deGrasse Tyson had a counter argument that, no, we're probably base reality, or we are the civilization that's just about to produce this completely immersive simulation. And there's a lot of really interesting things about quantum physics that to resonate with that as an underlying sort of philosophy. But I've been thinking about this over the last few months, I suppose. Even if we are in a simulation, which is likely, and of course inside our own brains we are in a simulation, the challenge is the same. The challenge is the same, is to write your story and to become the hero of your own story. It's the same mission, essentially, right? As human beings. So
yeah, 100%. And like for me, it's nice that you bring up like quantum physics. I mean, all of that stuff is that I'm kind of, I'm obsessed with. I think, there's so much to it, and it's not just, it's how you take the quantum physics, you combine it with art, and then actually leads to the spiritual realm. And so again, what I've done is then, to kind of, once I created my sound bites, is I then started playing around with, different tech tools to bring it to life, right? So obviously, sound is dynamic, but I'm creating something static. So pre-COVID days, when I would have to teach people how to use a QR code, there would be a QR code. I don't know if you can see it actually, which I would put on the side of the art. Now I print it actually on the art thing, because at the time it was like, who wants an ugly QR code? And now it's like, I just print it on my artwork, right? And so then I was like, no, but how do I tell this dynamic story? So then I first got into 2D animation, where obviously, you could start to tell the story. And then I started doing those as NFTs. Then I got into 3D animation, where effectively I wanted people to feel like they were jumping through into the sound wave, traveling through all of the aspects. But then I wanted a way to then be able to activate a new dimension. And that's kind of what augmented reality does. And I know people, obviously in the future, they're going to be like, oh, augmented reality. And to be fair, they could say, oh, it's just gimmicky or whatever the case is. But actually, to its core, what augmented reality is doing is a very kind of technical, like if you're going to take it a little bit at a higher concept, is it's opening up a new dimension, right? And so it talks about, and then if we link it to quantum physics, it's just like there are literally waves of possibility that are just hanging around us constantly, like just flowing around us. And only when it's observed does it become, do you actually realize it? And so exactly. Yeah. And so, but people, so right now, there's waves of possibility, of artistic possibility, just hanging around, right? And the great thing is that we can use technology then to activate that dimension. And so I'm sure this might even work, right? So I'm going to take my phone. I think you might even be able to see it. You see? Hold on, it's activating.
It's loading. Yeah, there you go.
So now the augmented reality is we're flying into the artwork through the blockchain. We're actually going through, this is the wrong but yeah, you're actually flying through the artwork.
Yeah.
And so, at that time, and we've just gone and activated this dimension that just wasn't there, but it's actually through, your phone.
Yeah. And it's there latently, but you've got to observe it in order to manifest it, right? Yeah.
This is what this is what I'm saying for me. I say that now with augmented reality, I use tech as a tool brush, right, to enhance my creativity. And so this is now just a portal into being able to access a different dimension. And that dimension can change. It's up to you as to what you want to put into it. It's up to you what you want to realize. And so when people, and so I like to use augmented reality in a very frivolous way. Like also when we talk about my future work, you'll see my art is quite frivolous, but actually if you think about it, and it looks really simple and it looks pretty basic as well sometimes. And it looks very clip arty and it looks like that. But actually, if you look at it, it's very much telling the story of today, but using it to actually start to peel away different levels, not just of art and tech, but of the human condition.
That's interesting. I when you said it, I hadn't thought about it looking very clip arty, which is interesting, but certainly there's a deeper commentary and there's a deeper sort of interaction that's being invited there from your works. It's very, very dynamic. But you look at an artist like Andy Warhol, right? Like that was not fine arts. It was commentary as much as anything, right? It was basically extracting out these elements of society in those days and elevating them up for contemplation and consideration, and some of them were the most simple possible everyday items. But it was what
and we are in a world of emojis. We're in this world, like you look at the Bored Apes and all of this Web3. This art is and they loved they love flat 2D art. I mean, it's like it's comfortable. It looks screen-like. It's it's digital. It's their comfortability. And so, and it's mine as well. So, I mean, I like telling the story in that way, right? I mean, so it's, I just, it's just, and it's more, it's more just capturing the now, right? And capturing the feel of now.
Yeah. So we talked about that collection, the Soundwaves collection. Is that one that you continue to apply that approach to new pieces, or was that something in the past, or how does that fit into your overall sort of body of work?
So I then moved on. I think I was always like, okay, sound is something that I want to continue to explore. So I created like my own alphabet, because I said, okay, I want to move away from literal images, and then I wanted to create more abstract, but I wanted the core thing to remain in terms of set words, images, and that stuff. So I moved away from,
literal symbols to actual, like just to symbols that I decided to create. So, and what is the alphabet? It's just basically a series of symbols and symbols and shapes that people understand to be a language, right? And so I just said, okay, well, anything is possible in the Web3 world. And so I decided I'll just create my own alphabet. But I did it with sound bites. So I called it the alpha bytes, right? And so again, the symbols will change even in terms of height and, like how big or how small, depending on the shape of the sound wave. And then I created, one of and then I wanted to interact and interplay that with this concept of fractionalization. And, so at the time, so this was like in 2022 now, people were talking a lot about how NFTs can fractionalize of artwork and all of this kind of thing. So I was like, but I'm going to physically fractionalize something, because again, people couldn't separate between why would they just have an NFT of an artwork. So I literally showed them a physical representation of it. So I created a sculpture. And I created the first word. It was called meta reversed. And so I created a sculpture that was made out of layers of steel that was dipped in copper, aluminium, like gold, aluminium kind of colors, right? And then there were 145 slices of that sculpture that were just assembled for the sculpture. Then when you bought an NFT, you got a slice of the sculpture. And so I physically fractionalized the artwork rather than, they were like, oh, you can take a painting and then you own this corner of the artwork. And you're like, well, I don't understand that. But actually, by physically fractionalizing it, they understood it a little bit better. And then that NFT got them into a collectors club that's called the 145 OG Bike Club people. And these guys are now, they all own the sculpture, but across all parts of the world, but they're part of one community. So just kind of showing a microcosm of what the Web3 world was doing with these Bored Apes, these, all of this. But to the Web 2.5 community, they were like, I don't understand that. So I was just like a little bit of an example to kind of get them to understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's like education embodied in the project, right? Like, hey, let's walk them through this because they're not quite getting it. Yeah, cool. That's very cool. Yeah. So what else do you do now? What sort of you've got some things on the horizon, do you?
Yeah, so I'm super excited about what's coming up because, like as I started off, I did physical art, I've kind of done this Web 2.5 kind of, and also like I've done proper NFTs and everything, but these are so I would say for those listening, in the Web3 space, the way I bifurcate it is you have one of one NFTs, as we said, like fine art, one of ones. And I'm known really as more of a one of one artist. Okay, fine. I did that 145 sculpture, but still that's art. That's fine art. And then
it's a single piece ultimately.
Yeah. And then you have on the Web3, you have then these like digital collectible collections. So the 5,000 or the 10,000, what people call NFT projects. So the one thing I've not done yet is one of those. And so I wanted to challenge myself to go through what that feels like, right? Because I understand it, but also to go through it creatively. And so I'm creating my first digital collectible collection or NFT project of 5,000 NFTs, which it will be a PFP project. It's going to be, most of my art, starts from 5, 10, 15, 20, 25,000, 100. I've sold for $100,000, normally, but these pieces will go for $100, so $100 NFTs, but they don't come with any physical. So, to the Web2 people, no, you do not get a physical piece of art.
Yeah.
The NFT, you have to just suck it up and understand that that's all you're getting.
Yeah. That's the asset.
Yeah, that's the asset. And so what I'm super excited is, and then I'm going to be launching that on Solana. I find the Solana community is so amazing, so welcoming to a woman artist as well. And so I'm really, and there've been some people that I've been working with for many years within the community that, that I think it feels right for me to do that.
Yeah, cool.
But to the base of it, it's a concept that talks to everyone. At the core and heart of it, it's about human emotion, it's about personal growth, and it's about mindfulness or mental health, which I think is a big deal at the moment.
Very topical.
And so it's going to appeal to everyone. And what I'm excited is that I want to launch a collection in the Web3 space, purely in a Web3 degen way, but then eventually bring it into the Web 2.5, even the Web 2 space. And hopefully you guys can follow my journey.
Through merchandise or through other items, or how do you bring it into Web 2?
So I would create the concept, right? So the PFP, but then I'm actually going to create fine art versions of these PFPs.
Right. Cool. Cool. Very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very contrarian. I mean, you started as more of a fine artist, pop artist, fine artist on that end of the scale. And you're sort of going back to PFPs as a way of sort of really experimenting with that process, with that whole community, with a really different set of drivers and values and sort of behaviors. So that's interesting to explore that. And then you're going to try and bring that back into the physical and the Web 2 world.
And I also, as you rightly said earlier, there's always a element of education, I think, that I naturally just veer towards, because I'm learning. So when I like to learn something, I like to, tell everyone about it. And so what I'm finding amazing is, I am drawing every single layer of my PFP collection, like literally.
Right.
So I've drawn already like 200 layers, and
wow.
Just that and seeing how then each layer kind of interplays with other layers, and how then that still, no matter what layer you put on, it kind of creates this really beautiful, still final artwork, right? And then, for me, if I can show people the value of those layers, the juiciness of those layers and how they all come together, and then you start to see the rarity of some of those layers, then people start to understand why Bored Apes, why, like, all of these, punks, like, I'm just, the degenerate ape, there's just so many like different, PFP projects, that why Web3, degens are so obsessed with the traits, because actually, and with the artwork, I want them to fall in love with PFP projects the same way a degen looks at a PFP as pure art in itself. Because actually, what I've done is it's made me look at a PFP project in a completely different manner. And now I just, like, when I see like one of my new characters, I'm like, oh, that one's good. And that's just because you've just got to combine the different traits together. And we're like, how did that just work so well?
Well, it's funny because before you weren't looking there, so it wasn't real, right? It hadn't manifested that way of thinking and looking. Are you looking at, presumably, obviously, you're looking at creating actual physical artworks related to this upcoming collection? Are you looking at extending it into, for example, other media, into short films or cartoons or that kind of stuff, or books or these types of things?
Completely. I mean, I think what I've realized is that, and what I kind of want people to realize is that, we have mediums, right? So a lot of the times, this NFT is a medium, and you can take your art concept and then express it in multiple mediums. So I would say I would love to, and again, this is almost part of, this art edutainment. Let's start off as an NFT, then I'll bring it as a physical artwork. I obviously paint, I'm known to paint very big murals. I've painted 3 or 4 around the city of Dubai. So make it into even a mural, or add augmented reality to it. Then we can create sculptures, but not just sculptures that you can put in your home. can make massive sculptures,
like
and then we can make as a book, because what I'm creating, it appeals to kids as well as adults, the concept. So, having that message come through in a way that connects to different audiences. And so isn't that what art is about, is being able to tell a message, but to reach people and really make a difference in their lives in a way that they want to consume it? I don't know. That's kind of what I'm trying to achieve.
100%. I have a really, really important question. We have a resident DJ on our team, and we'd like to know what we need to do to get on the whitelist for this drop that's coming up. Good question.
You have to be, well, first of all, you have to own a bit of Solana. To be fair, actually, we're doing it so that even if you don't have Solana, this is where it comes in. You will be able, even if you're a normal Web2, you'll be able to go in and buy, directly with fiat. I'll start to follow me on my Instagram, my Twitter, awesome. And then we'll start to give you hints about how you can join the whitelist.
Nice. And have you set a date for this to launch? Is this imminent, or are we looking at first half of the year?
We're looking around the third week of April.
Oh, wow. Yeah, great. So exactly. That's coming up.
So that's coming up. Yeah. Cool. And it's going to be cool. Yeah. And I hope that I will get a lot of Web2 people wanting to, buy for their first time an NFT. And then hopefully just really, my true test will be when the DGen goes, oh, yes, I love that. Yeah. Because then I know I've made my target customer happy, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, Amrita, thank you so much. We could keep talking for hours. There's lots and lots of stuff that you're doing, and it's fascinating. And I always enjoy catching up with you. We will put your socials down in the show notes. But where can people find you? Where's the best place to find you, on your Instagram or your Twitter?
Yeah. So my Twitter is Art by Amrita. And my Instagram, which is more the visual stuff, is, art.by.amrita. I'm LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn because it just, represents a lot of my Web2 world and my old corporate life, is Amrita Sethi. And also on TikTok, which I'm, starting to ramp up, is art_by_Amrita. So it's always
awesome. We'll put all of those here for people to find you. And we're certainly looking forward to your upcoming collection, and try and catch up with Dee and the boys down in Cape Town when you go by.
Just give us a call. Yeah. We'll connect. I'll connect on LinkedIn with you, and we'll definitely show you around the lovely city.
I've created an artwork called Africa Blockchain, which is what, and maybe cool. I'll send it to you, have a look. And again, that is really about creating new narratives. Somebody who's grown up in Africa, I am so fed up of a narrative that's been created, and I'm using my sound bites to put new images and new characters and new narratives to Africa.
Love it.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Amrita.
Okay, perfect. You take care. Thanks so much. You take care.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
There you are, Dee. I told you, really fascinating lady, isn't she?
Fascinating. It's just, it's so crazy to hear about her journey, like sort of from the Web2 finance background, going into the artist side of things. And I just love that sort of core mission, an objective of like wanting to express not only herself and find her most authentic self through her art, but also to help others. And it's just a beautiful thing, man. It's it's the subjectivity of it, and it's every artist's right, and that's awesome. I just love it. I can't wait to see what else she gets up to.
Yeah. The upcoming collection is pretty fun. I got some idea of what's going on there. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. So we'll certainly follow that, and we'll put, like I said, all the contact information here in the show notes, guys. And if you like this sort of content, please give us a like. Again, just a click, not a smash. Don't need a smash. Subscribe and comment down below.
Nice. Thanks, Dave. I'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.